In the 21st century, energy conservation is crucial, and all new buildings, including homes, must conform to strict energy efficiency standards. There are recognised levels achievable in older homes too, using insulation which can be installed without specialist skills or tools. Fuel prices are going through the roof, and if there's no insulation up there, so is a lot of your heat, about 25% according to government figures. This large old house in Gloucestershire was built as a hotel long before the need for energy conservation was recognised. Alan and Shirley are approaching the end of a major makeover on the property with a view to opening it as a bed and breakfast.
If luck is on our side,
yeah,
and the financial situation improves, then we hope to retire.
Yeah.
And to spend the rest of our lives here.
We both like being around people, so it's going to be just up our street.
Perfect. And how do you heat it?
We've just had a brand new combi boiler put in, and we've just had our first bill, which was horrendous. It was about £86 for the month. Wow. It's such a big house.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we don't want your guests getting cold, do we?
I mean, it's important to keep them warm, but I mean, at the same time, we need to be able to keep control of the bills.
Well, let's have a look, shall we?
Okay.
Well, there's nothing up here apart from a lot of dust. And no insulation means that Alan and Shirley are losing 25% of their heat straight through the roof. The government recommends that you use about 270 millimetres of insulation in a loft. And these days, most people are using about 300 in a new build. I reckon we should go with that. Well, Alan, this is the stuff I think we should use. It's a new product from Knauf insulation called Earthwool, and it has a better thermal performance than most other forms of insulation.
And roughly how much is this going to save me per year?
On your heating bills, it'll save you about 15%.
Oh, that's great.
Which is quite a significant saving. If you have a contractor do it, you could probably get your costs back within about 3 years.
OK, well, I'm going to do this job myself. Would that time span be reduced?
If you do it yourself, you could reduce that to probably just under 2 years. Right, shall I give you a hand?
Fantastic.
Come on then, grab one. Although this type of insulation is completely safe, it's a good idea to cover up legs, arms and hands. And because lofts are pretty dusty places, it's also recommended that you wear a dust mask. All set. This insulation will also benefit the environment with a reduction in CO2 emissions of around 1 tonne per year. Now we're using two different widths, 100mm thickness and 200mm thickness. We start with the 100mm thickness, that goes between the joists. Okay, now if I open this roll up, now look, you can see inside it's pre-split there in 400 widths, specifically for this size joist, but in modern houses raftered trusses are generally at 600 centres, so there's another split there for a 600 centre, so it's 2 lots of 600 or 3 lots of 400.
Oh, great.
But it's quite... This first 100mm layer is simply rolled along between the joists. When you're working in a loft, you do need to tread carefully. Make sure you only stand on the joists. If you find yourself standing on top of plasterboard, or in an old house lard and plaster, you run the risk of falling through, which will not only damage yourself, it will make a relatively cheap job much more expensive. A good idea to get over this is to use a board to span the joists, and you can stand on top of that quite safely, but do be careful of trap ends. If you stand on one end, you may tip the board. As you unroll this insulation, you can see it starts to thicken up, but Knauf insulation recommend that you fluff it up a bit to achieve its maximum thickness. And you can see how it fills the depth between the joists. Earthwool is made using recycled glass bottles. Unlike other types of loft insulation, the colour is completely natural. It's carbon neutral, and the energy saved by one roll during its lifetime can be over 1,500 times the energy used to produce it. A major advantage of glass wool is that it also absorbs sound. Additionally, unlike foams and plastics, it's non-combustible. There you go. That's the first layer down.
It cuts easy, it tears easy, and it comes in the 400 3 times, or you get 2 600s, and even one of those 600s splits into 2 3s, which is fantastic for getting all the little gaps in the edge. Really is easy to handle.
Well, good job. It's a big loft. You've done well. So now we're ready for the 200mm layer. Okay. We don't need to worry about the splits on this roll. We can just roll it along full width, and it goes at 90 degrees to what we've already done. So we're rolling it across the joists.
And that'll cover up any gaps.
The second layer is very quickly done. Of course, once you've done this to your loft, extra care is needed, because now you can't see the joists.
Well, that's a good 300mm, Dave.
That's great, and that gives you an R value of 7.5, which is well up with today's standards.
That's fantastic. Like a duvet, you could just go and roll all over it.
World's biggest quilt.
Yes, yes, definitely.
But it isn't there just to look good. The real improvement will show on your next fuel bill, hopefully, and on the faces of your warm and satisfied B&B customers.
Yes,
I'm
that's
sure
true.
it will.
Well, good luck with the B&B.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Thanks.
Dave.
Bye-bye, Dave.
Bye-bye.